Dr. Anabela Bonada is on the line, Manager and Research Associate, Intact Center on Climate Adaptation at the University of Waterloo. Good morning, Dr. Bonada.
Good morning, Patricia.
These numbers that came out about 2023 being the hottest year in global temperature records that go back to really the mid-1850s when we started keeping serious track of that kind of thing. On average, saying the planet was 1.48 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in that pre-industrial period. What does that mean for all of us humans making our home here on Earth?
It's a really significant number and data point, and while it sounds small, we need to remember this is a global average. So globally, the whole world has warmed to almost 1.5 degrees Celsius over this year. Now we're looking at that number as a threshold over a long period of time, but if this is the first year where we reach it, then we're starting to worry about that even more. And so what this means is that some of the actions that we've done to reduce our emissions, which are not that many actions, it's not completely working that well to slow down climate change. And reaching that global average means our extremes are becoming more extreme. So when we think about warming to that 1.5 degree, that's just the average. But in that curve of temperatures, our extremes on both ends get more extreme. So more extreme cold, more extreme heat, more extreme events such as storms, wildfires. So it's very worrying for us.
The wildfire season that we had here in Canada that was so bad in many parts of the country, including fairly close to home here for us in Ottawa, but also in BC, in the Northwest Territories, out east. Do you link that directly to a warming trend?
It's due to many reasons, but the unprecedented rate of the wildfire this summer, just the amount of land that was burned, there's a very good link to the climate warming. And some papers did come out saying they could actually say that it was like 2 times or 3 times more likely that this occurred due to a warming climate. And so the extreme wildfire season that we had, we saw that early in the spring, late last winter, we didn't have that much snow on average in Canada. And we had some really warm temperatures early in the spring, and that led to there being more fuel on the ground, so, dry leaves, dry branches, and it just acts like a tinderbox for wildfire. Now, with that being said, with this number coming out saying this year, the entire year was the warmest, and by February, temperatures are still going to increase because of the El Niño event, which is occurring, we're kind of worried about what's going to happen this next wildfire season. As you mentioned, December was the warmest month in Canada. We're not seeing a lot of snow, not a lot of ice cover. What does that mean for our upcoming wildfire season?
It's really interesting because I think in this area in particular, where we do typically get a lot of snow in Ottawa, we kind of watch that every year and watch how fast the melt happens in the spring and how quickly the temperature rises and look at the potential for flooding and whatnot. This is kind of the first time that I've thought a lot about the other side of it. When you don't get that snow, when you don't have that water going into the ground at a crucial time when you need it, what the implications are of that and having a drier winter, what that means for your spring and summer and beyond.
Yeah, so it has implications across the board. So at a landscape level, it's just not good for ecosystems that need snow, that need that water, that rely on the snowpack for many different reasons. But it has implications for our homes, our health. So if we are having a drier winter and we end up having a warmer than normal spring, the chances of wildfire are increasing. And like you said, even for Ottawa, you experienced wildfire smoke not that far away. You experienced wildfire smoke in the city from wildfires that were not that far away, and most of Canada experienced wildfire smoke. So even if you're not directly affected by the wildfire, your health is affected by the wildfire smoke. So everyone should be thinking about how to prepare if we're already seeing that this winter is drier than usual and we're not getting what we expect. How can we start to prepare our homes and ourselves for what's coming for the spring and summer?
How do we start to do that?
Yeah, so there's actually so much that can be done, and that's what we work on at the Intact Center on Climate Adaptation. So if people are thinking, okay, it's a drier winter, we are at risk of extreme heat this summer, which we usually are, then think about things that you can do around your home. So if you have the opportunity to add some greenery or just maintain the trees that provide shading to your home, that's a great place to start. Also think about cooling centers in your area. So a lot of people don't have access to air conditioning or a park nearby. So think of a cooling center that you could access in case of extreme heat or take any vulnerable people to that might need it. And then if you're in a wildfire-prone area, which might not be direct to Ottawa, but definitely the outskirts, just a little bit north of where you guys are, there were some wildfires this summer. You want to do a little bit of the opposite with vegetation. So remove it from up to 1.5 meters away from your home. And cut back any branches on large trees for 2 meters off the ground, for example. So these are simple, low-cost upgrades that you can do to your home and that can really protect you from these perils.
Little changes, little things we can do to be aware to make sure that our own families stay safe and comfortable. On the global picture, how urgent do you feel that this is? If we do not make changes, if we do not accelerate how quickly we're cutting emissions or making those changes, how much time do we have before this really becomes, pre-disaster?
It's like, I don't want to be the one to say it, but we're running out of time. The really good news is that there's so much that we can do. So on the adaptation front, on the reducing emissions front, there's so much that we can do. But we're not doing it quickly enough. We're not acting fast enough. And as we've been mentioning, the 1.5 degrees Celsius mark, we're reaching it this year. If we continue to do that year after year, which is the projection, we're going to get to the point where we can't go back on something. So losing some native species, for example, or just having those increases in storms that we're seeing, like extreme storms that occur across Canada and the Atlantic and Ontario, they have a direct effect on our homes, on our health, our mental health even. So we need to do everything that we can to decrease our emissions, but also prepare for all this. So think about climate adaptation. All of our resources are on our website, for example, just what I mentioned. People can access that and start to prepare for what's already occurring.
Dr. Bonada, thank you very much for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Patricia.
Dr. Anabela Bonada is a Manager and Research Associate, Intact Center on Climate Adaptation at the University of Waterloo. Again, you can jump online, find out some of the things that you can do